you. Thank you so much for being here. Super excited with you. So first, I want to talk a little bit about what is transparency and who I am. So my background is I've shifted in and out of transparency my entire life. When I was a kid, I think I was pretty transparent, but I've always had a weight problem. And I got picked on a lot as a kid. So I shifted in and out of transparency because I tried to act like I thought people wanted me to act and be who I thought people wanted me to be so that they would like me, because I've always been kind of a people pleaser. Then in middle school, I got into drama. So I was automatically other people because, you know, in shows, and I also did children's theater, in shows, it was my job to be other people. Then I got into journalism in college, and so I shifted into transparency, into being real and authentic, because I was a reporter, and it was my job to be behind the scenes, which I'm in a spot where I'm pretty comfortable. My job was to be behind the scenes, getting other people to be transparent, forcing other people in some ways, like PR people, to be transparent when they didn't always want to be. So I was a reporter for many years. Then I shifted from being a reporter into starting into PR. I did corporate PR for many years. Then I opened my own PR firm. And I kind of thought people expected PR people to be a certain way. And so I shifted back into being corporate, because that's how I thought people expected PR people to be. And let's just say I was hugely successful for many years, but the costume really didn't fit, because that's not really who I am. So I'm in the process now of changing my corporate website to a personal branding website, which I'm really excited about. So that's kind of who I am in relation to transparency. So I asked a few people to tell me what transparency meant to them. Because I think transparency means a lot to a lot of different people. And I think transparency is really kind of in vogue and expected right now. So one person wrote, nothing to hide, which I love. One person wrote truth. One person wrote authenticity and honesty. And another person wrote authenticity. So I love that I have two authenticities, because authenticity is amazing to me, and it's a really big part of who I am. So if anyone else wants to share what they think transparency is, we can kind of talk about that in the Q&A after. No, that's it. So why I'm fascinated with transparency, especially now, is all of a sudden, to me, transparency seems like it's cool, like it's okay, like people like it. In politics, in interpersonal relationships, people value, expect, and demand authenticity and transparency. We have CEOs, we have political candidates, people are doing their own tweets. And if they're not authentic, they immediately get criticized. If they're not truthful, they get found out, and things get really ugly. So yeah, so transparency is like, it's like really cool, and it's really expected. It's kind of a given. You know, we like transparency. Transparency is sexy. Transparency is attractive. So that makes me really happy, and that was one of the reasons I was excited to talk about it today. Okay, so we talked very briefly about what transparency is. Now I want to talk, and this is going to be this is the first time I've talked about this publicly. I'm feeling very vulnerable about right now, but I want to talk about that time that I was opaque, which is the opposite of transparent. So I told you a little bit about how I've shifted. I've been a journalist, I was in PR. I mean, I was hugely successful. I was making a lot of money for myself. I was making a lot of money for other people. I had lost a boatload of weight, like 130 pounds. I was rocking a single-digit pair of jeans. I was running marathons. I was on top of the world. I thought I was really happy. Well, in the middle of 2012, I lost one of my clients. It was one of my favorite clients. A small client, but it really crushed me. It really messed with my mojo. And then immediately after that, I started having these really crazy hormonal issues. My hormones went crazy. And my doctors put me on all these drugs, and I had never really been on a lot of medication. And so I was even crazier. My behavior was really erratic. I didn't know who I was. It was a really rough time. And one of my best friends, Rana, is here, and my husband's here. And I think they were both around me during that time, and they can attest that I was not who I was, and I was not who I am right now. It was a really hard time in my life. At the same time, as if those things weren't enough, I got something called foot drop. Now keep in mind, I lost all this weight, was running marathons, was on top of the world, remember the single-digit clothing sizes, foot drop. Couldn't walk normally, couldn't run certainly with my friends, was really messed up hormonally, and I was very uncomfortable with that. And I didn't know how to work, I didn't know how to do anything. So then I lost my favorite freelancer who was helping me behind the scenes with a lot of my work. So all of a sudden, I'm alone. I have foot drop. I have all this hormonal stuff going. I don't know who I am. I don't know how to act. But I was very ashamed because I felt that having a major disease or a major illness would be acceptable to people in my world. And I could take a little time off. But to say my hormones are out of whack and I got this foot thing and I lost some clients didn't feel comfortable to me. So at the time, my husband told me, let's tell your clients what's going on. Take some time off. But I was embarrassed. I couldn't do that. I mean, what would they think of me? I was just, I get nervous now thinking about how I was then. So I was the opposite of transparent. I kept moving along, trying to put on this face, acting like everything was perfect, and it wasn't, and everybody could tell. And I could tell. And I wasn't in a place of truth. I wasn't comfortable. I was very uncomfortable. And I had some clients that had been with me for a really long time. And I kind of had this attitude at the time, they love me. I'm not really that different. Nothing's going to change. Well, consequently, some of my clients, partially coincidentally because of the economy and partially because I was a whack job, took work in-house. And so I lost some of my clients. I'm still a whack job, but in a cool way now. I'm a little out there, but I embrace that. It was partially the medication, partially my mojo was compromised because I've started gaining this weight. I've got, I'm not in my world with my running. I stopped working out completely. I was a different person. So that messed with my mojo, and I stayed stuck for a really long time. And I didn't want to admit to anybody what was going on because it was just so embarrassing to me. So I was the opposite of transparent. So I couldn't stand being in that place. I was really unhappy. I wasn't myself. I was trying to fake who I was. I lost some friends along the way. My life completely shut down. I had no hope for the future. I wasn't comfortable in my own skin. I wasn't comfortable about where I was. I was a big-time rear-view mirror thinker. Oh, I should have done this. If I had done this, this wouldn't have happened. It was a really, really rough time in my life. So I decided something's got to change. The other challenge is that I was really afraid to ask for help because I felt that I would come across as desperate. Because I did come across as desperate, because I was desperate. So I was afraid I would come across as desperate, so I was very fear-based about asking for help. So what I did was, and this took me a while, it was a really dark couple of years. And what I did was, I got really brave, and I asked some of my favorite referral sources, help me. I had a couple clients take work in-house. I have some time. I have some room to add new clients. Please feel free to refer me work. Here's exactly the type of work I'm looking for. Keep me in mind. I did a snail mail campaign. I made some phone calls. I did a couple coffee meetings, of course, at locally owned coffee shops. And stuff started to happen. I'm a big believer in, I get everything that people say about manifestation, and I think it's really true. But I'm a big believer that manifestation, to be successful, has to be coupled with hustle. So I hustled to manifest joy and growth and abundance in my world. Stuff started to happen. My mojo started to come back. I met some really amazing new friends. And I became a lot closer to some people that were already in my life that I really hadn't made time for. So my life started to get really cool. Granted, wasn't rocking the six figures anymore. Still rebuilding my business, but I started to get really happy. But it was a deliberate shift into authenticity. Okay, so choosing joy versus chasing dollars. That has transformed my entire life. when I started being deliberate, worrying less about that next client and that next paycheck and how big the client was going to be and how big that contract was going to be and having everything kind of set for a year. When I started worrying less and planning more and choosing situations that were going to be joyful for me, I became a lot happier. Because when I had that scarcity mentality, quite frankly, I was whoring myself out to anyone who would hire me. And that's not a good place to be, because I took on some work for some clients that I didn't feel good about. I wasn't joyful about. And when you're in public relations, writing, marketing, and social media, in my opinion, for me personally, to be successful, and as an entrepreneur, I get to choose my clients. To be successful, you have to believe in your clients, you have to be passionate, and you have to be joyful. Otherwise, if I don't believe in you, if I don't think you're cool, I cannot sell a story on you to a reporter because I'm not in a place of truth myself. And if they ask me questions, I won't be able to answer them convincingly. It's not a good place to be. So I started really choosing joy and choosing the clients that brought me joy, started working with a lot of locally owned businesses, joined the National Association of Women Business Owners, and was really accepted for who I was at that moment. I wasn't this fancy corporate PR person anymore. I was just me, focusing on helping local businesses shine, and I was in a real place of comfort, authenticity, and joy. So that was a really, really good point for me. When you are happy, prosperity follows. That was so true for me. So it took a long time, and I am not a patient person. I'm the first one to admit I am really impatient. Right now, I'm kind of back on that weight loss bandwagon, and it has taken forever. I am not a patient person, but stuff is starting really coming into my life, and it makes me so happy. Former clients that fired me then are coming back to me and rehiring me. That's huge for me. And I'm really seeing a lot of abundance coming back into my life, and I'm so excited about where I am right now in my business. And I'm going to talk in a minute about my life too and how it all kind of comes together. But prosperity really does follow when you're joyful and when you're not just all about that big contract. So it's been really true for me. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but this hashtag says, "My birthday will not suck." Okay, I turned 50 on October 5th. Thank you. And I was, in the past, I didn't want anyone to know how old I was. I was embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, if people know I'm in my late 40s, I mean, what will they think? I mean, I'm here. I don't know why, but I didn't want anyone to know how old I was. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be bold, large, and in charge about my 50th birthday because I'm in a really good place. So I decided that my hashtag was going to be "My birthday will not suck." But my friend Rana's 14-year-old daughter said, that's too negative. Make it something else. So my hashtag became 50 by 50. So I decided I was going to do 50 things that brought me joy before my 50th birthday, and I was going to be loud about it. Shared it on Instagram, shared it on Facebook, shared it on Twitter, shared it with everyone I knew. Brought a lot of people in my world as partners in this 50 by 50 challenge. So if you look at on Instagram, Ruth Furman 50 by 50, you can see these 50 things I did. Some of them were little, like cotton candy grapes were being sampled at the grocery store, and I thought that was cool. Some of them were bigger. Went to see Beautiful at the Smith Center. My husband's stepfather got us tickets because I put it out there that I really wanted to do some cool things for my birthday. So I was very authentic about my birthday, and it was crazy joyful. The celebrations are still continuing, even though, it's officially the end of October. So. But it was awesome. It was awesome. My birthday did not suck at all.
Did it last the whole year, Ruth?
Yes. Kimmy was part of my 50th birthday, so some of the NABO members had a party for me. And I've had to kind of work on my deserve level because I'm like, people doing things for me, I think I'm a very giving person, but people doing things for me has felt uncomfortable, like, oh gosh, I don't know if I'll be able to do something like this for them, or why are they doing this? I mean, that's so nice, but so I just accepted it. I accepted it, and it was amazing. So being transparent with myself has been a real challenge for me. I became transparent with other people, but being transparent about myself, about what I need, about what brings me joy, about what energy I want to put out in the world has been really challenging. I know that my personality type can be a lot to take. I'm quirky with a capital Q. But I've kind of learned that balance of, some people call it too much information, some people call it a self-radar, people call it oversharing. I do sometimes find that I have a tendency to overshare. I don't tell everyone about, my hormone issues, about my business going downhill. People just don't care. Some people don't deserve to hear my whole story or want to. One of my friends is in HR for one of the casinos in town, and he told me that sometimes when people are talking about their personal life, he hears Charlie Brown's teacher, rah, 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 rah. And I think that's very true. So I think that we should all be transparent and authentic, and we shouldn't worry about what other people think of us all the time. However, we do need to be sensitive and be cognizant and be aware. So thank you so much. I loved being here. I would welcome any questions, and let's all be more transparent and authentic. Thank you.